Let's look at your story just for a second. Because I said, change your story, change your life. What has been the old story of your life? If there's been a limiting story at all, especially, I'm sure your life is great in so many ways, but the areas that are not going well, what's been the story that you've had? Like, you know, my story has been, I've gone through so much challenge, life has hit me so hard, and you know, I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing great. Maybe that was your old story. What was your old story? How would you describe it? Close your eyes, stay standing. With your eyes closed, just think, my old story was what? It was a story, was it a romance? Was it a drama? Was it a comedy? Was it an epic? Was it pain? Was it a story about challenge or failure or limitation or opportunity? What were the feelings that were predominantly in the old story of your life? Your new story is going to be, life's going to be about what for you going forward? If you get to write, direct, and produce your story, which you do, what's the story going to be about? And what are going to be the primary emotions? Is it gratitude? Is it passion? Is it hunger? Is it drive? Is it persistence? Is it determination? Is it faith? Is it courage? What are 2 or 3 emotions that if you made them dominant in your life every day, they would change the story of your life? If you woke up every day and you did something bold, something difficult, you were courageous, or you were playful, or you were more grateful every single day, or more loving, or even more caring, what emotions will be in your new story that'll drive it? And what role will you play? Instead of the pawn, what will you be? You know, Martin Luther King did not know how to change America, but he knew what needed to be done and why. And when he gave his speech, I Have a Dream, he didn't know how to make it happen. But he was able to inspire people and put them in a different state, and our country changed. Our country still needs to keep changing. But you know, a couple decades later, an African-American, President Obama, became president for 8 straight years, voted by mostly white people. There's more white people there than there was anybody else in the culture at that time. So think about it, the world can change. Or President Kennedy, when he said, we're gonna put a man on the moon in this decade and bring him back to the earth safely, the people in NASA were like, he's insane, we don't have the reason, we don't know how to do that. He goes, I don't care you know how. This is what we're gonna do, and this is why we're gonna do it. If you get a strong enough what you want and why you want it, you can figure out how. And then we're gonna look at what do you need to do to go from where you are to where you wanna be? What's gotten in the way? You know, what gets in the way in anybody's progress? Whether you're doing well and you wanna go to the next level, or whether you're having a challenging time you need to turn around with. And we're gonna walk you through that experience. And then we're gonna give you, I like to do things experientially. Because you know, your mind can convince you of all kinds of things, but when you have an experience, you know. As I always tell people, a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. You can believe you know what China is like, but if you've never been there, it's just a belief. You go to China, you have a direct experience. We all know the world is changing. If you read some of the studies that are done, you know, at Cambridge and some of the major universities right now, they're all talking about between AI, nanotechnology, and robotics, we're gonna be in a very different world very quickly. Not like 20 years from now, like in the next 3 to 8 years, there's gonna be giant transformations. AI being one of the biggest, of course. And about 55% of the current jobs, they say, will go. They're gonna disappear because you'll be replaced. Well, I know that concerns people. It should. If you look around at something as simple as, let's say, you know, self-driving cars, they're not really effective yet, but they will be. I don't know, is it gonna be 3 years, 5 years? But when they do, there's 8 million Uber drivers, truck drivers, taxi drivers. And what are they gonna do? 150 years ago, 80% of America was farmers. Now it's 3% and we feed the whole world because of technology. But we're gonna have to retool ourselves. So how can you step into this future and be confident that you can do well? How can you make sure your kids and grandkids can? You need 3 skills. Please jot them down. They're very simple. The first skill that will change your life is when you get good at pattern recognition. Now, when you can recognize a pattern, it takes away your fear because it's no longer chaos. Like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. This has never happened before. What's happening politically, what's happening with wars around the country, what's around the world, what's happening with inflation has happened multiple times about on every 80-year cycle. And so this is not new. And when you recognize a pattern, you're not fearful anymore. You can actually start to be in control if you master the second skill, which is pattern utilization. See, if you look at anyone, think of someone you think is masterful. It could be a comedian, it could be an actor or an actress, it could be a great athlete, It could be, somebody amazing at running businesses. It could be somebody who's a great financial trader. If you know anyone who's really great at anything, they have these two skills for sure. They know how to recognize patterns in the financial markets or in a business. They know how to recognize what movements will affect you most if they're a dancer, or what sounds will touch you deepest if they're a great singer. But they not only recognize it, but they learn to use those patterns to get the results that they really want. And if you work at this, you can get to a third skill, and that's the ultimate skill, and that's where you actually have pattern creation. That's when you start to become masterful at something. It's kind of like if my daughter, I'm watching her learn to play the piano, and how does she learn to play the piano? You first learn someone else's patterns, someone else's music, and you practice it. You learn to recognize what things do, and you learn how to do it and use it and get the result. But after she's played enough at some stage, she will start to create her own patterns, her own songs, right? And that's pretty much what's happened in my life. I've studied all these books and patterns, and all these different ways of creating change. And then gradually, as the decades went by, I started to create my own as well. I'll give you an example. During COVID, there was a common pattern. It's the pattern that people go through when they go through a big loss. But when people go through grief or loss, they go through stages. The first thing that happens when you have that major loss, you go through shock, right? It's like, it can't be, shock and denial. It's like, I'm confused. I mean, it couldn't be. They're not dead. This couldn't have happened. How could they have fired me? How could they? And that is, after the denial shows up, then people tend to get angry, or at least frustrated or irritated or maybe anxious. But I can't believe this is not right. This shouldn't have happened, right? But if you keep growing, you go to the third stage. This is just another example of a pattern. Okay, out of the anger, go to the third stage and you start to find, okay, now people get sad. They're tired of being angry. So they go through sadness, they go through loss. Some people go into depression. And by the way, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know the pathway out, you can get stuck in sadness. Some people are still depressed years later. What's the next step that people go through? You may have done this during COVID, bargaining. Like in your brain with God, like if you'll just do this, I'll do this. I'll promise if you'll get me through this, this will happen. It's kind of a negotiation stage with yourself or with God or with the world. And then finally, when most people get where they're okay, they go to acceptance. They start to say, well, it is what it is, and I just have to accept it, it's over. Now, I don't think that's the final step. That's the final step for most people. But I will tell you, the step that'll change your life if you're going through grief is at a sixth step. And that sixth step is for you to create something new. If there's one thing I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that we all know is everything in life changes and everything ends. That can sound depressing. Our lives end, everything ends, but when something ends, something new begins if you look for it, if you create it. So what we want to do here is see if we can't retool ourselves for this environment. When I say retool ourselves, what I really mean by that is, if you've ever seen a race like the Le Mans race, a 24-hour race, or they have some desert races in the Sahara Desert, if you have the greatest car in the world, the best car, Mercedes, whatever it is, and you try to do the 24-hour Le Mans or the Baja 1000 or the Dakar 9,300 miles, it's 12 days in the Sahara Desert, 75 people have died. I don't care how great your car is, you've got to retool it for this environment. You're gonna have to retool your patterns in your own mind and body so that when things look terrible, you can still move forward, and it's not some BS positive thinking. I don't believe in positive thinking, just so you know. I believe in energy. People see me and on stage, there's 20,000 people in a stadium, they're jumping, and they think, oh, it's rah-rah positive thinking. I've never been into it. Think of it as there's two worlds you gotta master. The external world and the internal world. The external world you can't control, but you can influence. But the internal world, you can have absolute control of what you think, what you feel, and most importantly, what you do. And that's where the results of your life come from.